President Trump are increasing tensions with two U.S. trade partners. As of today, 50% tariffs are officially in effect for Brazil.
Brazil, as an example, has been.
President Trump is using the economy as a political weapon. He's been saying that tariffs are about leveling the playing field.
About 40% of our coffee comes from Brazil.
We can't grow coffee here. There's only two states that can grow coffee, well, two places in the U.S. that grows coffee. One of them is our territory, Puerto Rico, and the other is Hawaii.
I wish that this wasn't happening, especially to small businesses at this time.
Then when you add tariffs, possibly, on top of that, then, your cup of coffee may double.
Olá, amigos do canal Bom Dia Geoeconomia. Trouxemos aqui uma série de 3 vídeos sobre como o mercado do café está sendo afetado nos Estados Unidos, depois das tarifas impostas ao Brasil pelo presidente americano. A bebida favorita deles está seriamente ameaçada por conta destas medidas, e os impactos já estão sendo sentidos. Será que é possível reverter esta situação? Segue nosso canal para não perder nenhum capítulo da série. E já deixa seu like se você ficou curioso para saber o que os americanos estão pensando a respeito deste assunto.
What if your morning coffee was about to become the next casualty of a global trade war? One quiet morning, as millions of Americans filled their mugs, Washington unleashed a 50% tariff on all Brazilian coffee imports, shattering a supply chain that had run smoothly for decades. From the lush hills of Minas Gerais to roasters in New Jersey, these beans fueled everything from small-town diners to global brands. Overnight, that rhythm collapsed into political brinkmanship. The real shock wasn't the tariff, it was Brazil's defiance. "I will not humiliate myself," the president declared in Sao Paulo, refusing any negotiation. In Brasilia, defiance wasn't just a statement, it was a warning shot across Washington's bow. The United States market blinked. Brazil didn't. In Brasilia, defiance wasn't just a statement, it was a calculated opening move in a trade war that Washington no longer fully controlled. It was a direct challenge that left Washington scrambling for a counterpunch. Almost instantly, traders shifted contracts, roasters scrambled to protect blends, and cafe owners asked the same question. If not here, then where will Brazil's coffee go?
It's quite possible that this coffee just isn't going to come to the United States.
Early signs point north, toward markets with fewer political risks and steadier profits. For the United States, it's a wake-up call. For Brazil, a chance to redraw the coffee map. And for consumers, it could mean paying more for less, with your favorite blend replaced before you realize it.
I know that, prices are going to go up.
Stay with us, because the next chapter in this brewing battle may change your morning cup forever. One trigger changed everything. On August 1st, 2025, Washington's 50% levy on all Brazilian coffee turned a once stable supply chain into a geopolitical fault line. Brasilia didn't blink. "I will not humiliate myself," the president said on August 2nd, sending traders to reroute contracts and roasters to rethink blends. To grasp how hard this shock could hit the United States market, start with the scale of America's coffee habit. Fresh data from the United States Department of Agriculture, updated August 10th, 2025, shows that the United States consumes over 24.5 million bags of coffee annually, worth roughly $3.72 billion, averaging 10.8 pounds per person. Around 30% of that, more than 8 million bags, comes from Brazil, placing the South American nation firmly in the #1 supplier spot among more than 70 countries exporting coffee to the United States. Domestic coffee production remains negligible, limited to niche regions like Hawaii and parts of Southern California, where output is small, seasonal, and priced as a high-end specialty product. For the world's second-largest coffee consumer, imported supply is not a luxury, it's a lifeline. Brazil's role in that lifeline goes beyond raw volume. Its standard Arabica beans have been the foundation of mass-market blends for decades, underpinning household names like Dunkin', Tim Hortons, Starbucks, Maxwell House, and Kirkland. Brazilian coffee is prized not just for its consistency, but for its ability to deliver quality at scale at a price that works for commercial roasters. explains Laura Gomez, senior analyst at Euromonitor International. Yet now, with the new tariff layered on top of a 12% jump in global oil and transport prices just in July, the cost of importing Brazilian coffee to the United States has risen by 25 to 35%, depending on contract size and signing date. On paper, those figures may seem manageable. At the supermarket shelf, they are anything but. A pound of standard ground coffee that sold for $6.90 to $7.10 earlier this year now averages $8.13 nationwide. In high-cost states like California and New York, many brands have crossed the $9 threshold. For a family consuming 3 to 4 pounds a month, that's an extra $36 to $60 a year. My customers are mostly everyday coffee drinkers, says Rick Walters, 54, who runs a small grocery in Ohio. They grumble, but they're still buying for now because they can't find anything as affordable that tastes the same. But price is only part of the problem. Even if American consumers are willing to pay more, the volume of Brazilian coffee reaching the United States is already falling. In the first week of August, Brazil's Coffee Exporters Council reported an 18% year-over-year drop in shipments to the United States. This isn't due to a production shortage. Brazil still accounts for over 1/3 of global coffee output. But because the tariff has wiped out its competitive edge in the United States bulk commercial segment. For Marcelo Tavares, head of a growers cooperative in Minas Gerais, the math no longer works. When you add the tariff, we can't compete on price in the low-cost commercial market. Selling to the United States now is barely breaking even, if not a loss. Exporters are pivoting rapidly. Just 3 days after Washington's announcement, China granted export licenses to more than 220 Brazilian coffee firms, targeting a billion-strong market. The European Union, South Korea, and Japan have also moved quickly. In Germany, retail giant Ruva signed a memorandum of understanding with a cooperative that once supplied United States roasters, paving the way for long-term deals. Still, no single market can absorb the United States share overnight. The sudden dislocation of such a critical link in the coffee chain has sent shockwaves across logistics networks. Every Brazilian bean passes through a dozen hands, from farmer to local transporter, port workers, shipping lines, importers, warehouses, roasters, and finally cafes or supermarkets. And one break in the chain can ripple through the entire system. This disruption is forcing United States importers, especially small and medium-sized enterprises, to look to alternative sources such as Ethiopia, Vietnam, or Indonesia. Yet none of these countries have the same scale of ready-to-ship commercial-grade coffee as Brazil. Switching suppliers means renegotiating storage contracts, shipping schedules, and roasting processes, each step adding cost and risk. We tried Vietnamese Robusta to fill the gap, says Linda Chen, owner of a small batch roastery in Seattle. The flavor's different, and our regulars noticed right away. To keep them, I've had to eat into margins. Otherwise, we lose them. For many of these shop owners, protecting their blend is like protecting a piece of their customer's morning cup. Familiar, comforting, and now under threat. As these adjustments unfold, the United States coffee sector finds itself in unfamiliar territory. Higher prices, tighter supply, and an increasingly fragmented sourcing strategy. What was once a stable, predictable pipeline from Brazil to American consumers is now a costly and uncertain gamble, reshaping the way the industry thinks about its most essential ingredient.
Obrigado por assistir até aqui. Se você gostou deste vídeo, deixe seu like, se inscreva no nosso canal e deixe um comentário sobre o que você pensa sobre este assunto.